know nothing about golf, but I still followed you because your comedy timing is so funny. And the way you do the bits with the phone. So for people that don't know, one, go find Hermitage Golf or Chris Pierce. But you do this thing where you're like, golf shop, this is Chris. Yeah, we're open. Now I'm going to help your swing. And then you hang up. And, like, I know nothing about golf, but that whole idea is just the presentation, the way it looked, the joke, the delivery, the punchline. So you and I have this kindred spirit. You and Jeff have golf. You and I accidentally got famous on Instagram, too. Famous is, like, a loose term. But extremely popular on Instagram. So when was the first video? What made you want to do it?
So the first video was about 3 years ago, I guess. And it wasn't my idea. I tell people all the time, the adults in the room had the idea. And Hermitage Golf Course, for who probably don't know this, it's family owned. And so the daughter's the president, CEO. The daughter-in-law is director of marketing. And so we were sitting in an office one day telling a bunch of stories of previous customers. And they were like, well, let's just act like you're answering the phone. And I was like, guys, I don't know. We're making fun of people. And this is our customer. And again, the adults in the room who are far smarter than me said, let's just do one. If it falls flat and we get a terrible response, no harm, no foul. We'll just say, hey, we tried something. It didn't work out. But Courtney Eller, who's the director of marketing, said, I don't think that's what's going to happen. And so we did the first one, and it took off. And then we did a couple more. And they were like, do you want to keep doing this? And I was like, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun, right? I love to try to make people laugh, and I love to try to write, and it was letting me have a chance to try to write, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went boom, and I was like, I think we've messed up here. This has got a little bit bigger than what we thought it would be. So
do you have like you go to the grocery store and people are like so it's weird.
That's been the most wild thing. Like I understand that people could come into Hermitage and be like, hey, you're the guy that's answering the phone, but the guy that's picking out cottage cheese and he's like, hey, you mind if we take a picture real fast? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
It's really funny too, because you talk about it. My wife sends me golf videos. My wife hates golf. She can't stand it, but she goes, I clicked on one video on Instagram and now they're in my feed, and I figure, maybe you'll like it. And I do. There's a couple of you guys out there. One of my favorite stories was to describe what it was like living in Boston. The acerbic attitude that everybody has. I was at Stowe Acres, the golf course there, waiting in line, and the phone rings, and he picks up the phone. He goes, Stowe Acres, is the sun up? And he hangs up, and the guy goes, what was that? He goes, somebody just asked if we were open. And I thought, a simple yes might have, come on down,
And so that's what I've heard to explain to some people on like the comments is this guy called, he had watched every video that we had done, and he had called like the 10th video in, and he wanted me fired. And he said, I just don't think you should talk to your customers like this. And I said, well, hold on, let's take a time out here for a second. I said, what do you think the odds are that we've sat a camera up for 8 hours? We got so lucky that we got the same question 3 times in a row, and we took the other stuff out. Right. And the guy goes, when you say it like that makes a lot more sense. But if you worked at my club, I'd get you fired. I should have let it go. I should have just said, hey, look, maybe not for you. And I was like, well, that's what I'm trying to do here. I just don't know what to say yet. And he's like, well, now you don't have to be a smart aleck in person. He hung the phone up. And I've explained
Wait, he thought it was real?
He thought it was real.
You know what? I had this conversation on the way up here today with my cousin who still lives in California. And I've lost like a lot of friends and family for making fun of...
Yeah.
Because they think they don't realize, like, this is something I thought was funny in real life, and then I developed it into a character, and then I delivered it as a package. So you have people that think those are real phone calls.
We have people that write all the time on our comments and say, you shouldn't talk to your customer like this. What do you think the customer's viewing? And it's like, there's not anybody on
I saw the video,
phone.
Mats only, and that...
Yeah, and they're all real. Like those questions have all been asked. Like the punchline has been written, right? But the question itself, 100% asked through that pro shop.
Well, that's it. My son did IT, and you'd be amazed at how many calls come in and go, is it plugged in? Oh, All right, thank you.
You got to hit the power button.
Is it plugged in? I thought,
That's wild to me. But I guess I've been on this side of entertainment for so long that I never even, whenever I see anything, I'm like, that's not.
Yeah.
That's wild. Even, I don't know if you remember this, but DUI Steve, he went viral years ago, like one of the first people to go viral with that video where he's a drunk guy on a forklift. And he's like, maybe I'll come down. Maybe I won't. And the cops are pulling him over, and he's got beer. And they're like, Steve, we know you're drinking up there. And he's like, no, you don't. And then he's like, and it's so funny. And I had like an eye-opening experience because I met him in Nashville like 5 years ago. And he's a comedian named Mark Ryan. And like none of that whole video, he had a buddy with a cop car. He rented a forklift.
Sure.
He does this character. And like it just totally changed how I viewed the internet and viral videos. So the comments, I don't read them. I don't look at them. If they're ever answered, they're not me.
Sure.
I haven't looked at them in years. But I do look at the likes and shares percentage-wise just to see, like, do these people like where this is trending? Because I owe it to them for supporting me.
Right.
You had told me before we started that you only look at the bad comments. What is wrong with you?
I thought that was the best way to make another video.
Well, that's what I do.
Right?
Yeah, I get a kick out of that.
I get a kick out of it.
I don't know. I think you guys are into like dominatrix.
I don't know. Years ago, though, I remember when I started listening to Glenn Beck back in the early 2000s. And on his website, he only commented on the, like, you're an imbecile, and he would correct the spelling. No, it's, this is how you spell imbecile, And I thought, how cool is that? Yeah, you make the, I had a woman the other day comment, not funny.
Yeah.
And I looked at the video and I thought, she's right. So I wrote her back and I said, it's not one of my favorites either, but we got to put stuff out. Lighten up.
I did one on my own page, and I thought it was about how old. When you hit a certain age, you shouldn't take your glove to a Major League Baseball game. I don't know if y'all are big baseball fans, but I'm just like, look, you're 50 years old, so you're sitting in section 300. They're not going to have you come play second base tonight for the Atlanta Braves. I promise you. And so this guy wrote me, he's like, you've probably never played baseball before, and you don't know anything. And so I direct message and just said, hey, appreciate you listening, appreciate you watching. And I played 4 years of JV high school baseball, and I was the captain's. And I thought, just have fun, man. You know, just it's a joke, it's a bit. I don't care if you take your glove.
Well, you heard of that about years ago with the sitcom or the actors on a series that if they played a villain, they'd get accosted on the streets and things. People, they can't separate the hey, no, man.
I struggle with that, with knowing their real name. I always go by like whoever their character was. I'm terrible about knowing actors' actual names. So I'm like, so-and-so is forever this person to me for all of eternity. Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so you like writing.
I do.
Are you a stand-up fan?
Love stand-up.
Who's your favorite stand-up? Say Jeff. Just
Nate and Jeff.
Nate is your favorite? I think you went to school with Nate, right?
I was younger than Nate. I went to the same high school and and all that. Nate graduated. I graduated 2008. So Nate would have graduated
from high school.
I graduated high school 2008.
Oh my God.
Me too. If I would have graduated, if I was in a juvie dropout.
8?
Yeah.
Holy cow! I'm
you know what,
so stinking old.
You know what hurts worse is we feel old because we're rolling up on 40. Do you remember when you were rolling up on 40 and you're like, what's going on
Well,
with
actually,
life?
I got saved at 40. So
I
rolled up on 40. I was getting drawn to Christ, and I was in a great place. And my marriage was getting back. 40 was good for me. I'll tell you what the hardest age for me was, 25.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I was. I almost joined the Air Force. I did go into recruiter, and I just wasn't where I had started comedy at 22. It wasn't going anywhere. I was drinking really heavy, drugging a lot, and I walk into the recruiter's office, and he even asked, "Why do you want to join the military at the age of 25?" And I'm an honest guy. I said, because I'm a loser. I have nothing going for me. And what are you doing now? I said, comedy and all that. But yeah, it was a hard time, 25. 30 wasn't bad, 40 wasn't bad. This birthday, I just turned 69, has been hard. Right. It's been hard. 1 year from 70. But it's a different kind of hard. It's like, okay, what am I going to leave behind?
Sure.
So I just got a book called...
Last rites.
No, it was that would be one I should get. God, it's on Kingdom Finances on how to handle.
Leave a legacy.
Yeah, how to leave
thing.
something. How to. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so it's a different mindset. I know I got a lot less days ahead of me than I got behind me, so it's like all of a sudden, it is a marker. But 40 wasn't hard for me at all.
I haven't hit an age like. I guess I used to coach high school football, and I think the first time I thought, man, I'm starting to get old. Is
you and Tim Walls.
We were talking about 9/11. And I was like, y'all, and one kid was like, Coach, we weren't born. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Like it was all history to those kids, and stuff.
Yeah.
But I haven't hit an age where I've been like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to my body feels like I'm starting to get old. I still feel like I'm 25, 26 in my head. I can still go play pickup basketball, and then 2 days later I can't get out of bed. And my
your
ankle
body
hurts,
lets you know that
and
that's
my
a
knees
lie.
hurt, and my back hurts, and it's like, man,
I-
I'm not 26 anymore,
I remember playing basketball. My manager played ball, so I go to the court on Sunday, and it was Wednesday when I could walk where I wanted to walk. My legs just took me, and I go, I'm not doing this again. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golf is hard enough on your body.
Yeah, the whole back knee problem there.
Yeah.
So Nate's your
So
stand-up.
I like to watch Nate. I like to watch John Christ. I've watched Jeff, and so I love, for me, the clean aspect, right? I think when you can be funny and you don't have to use four-letter words and you can stay clean, I think there's something to be said, especially being able to write that way. I'm more intrigued by the writing aspect of it than necessarily how somebody delivers
Oh, that's
the joke.
interesting.
I love to know, is that a life story? Did you sit and write that? Did you see something and you thought, hey, I think I can make that funny? That to me, and it's the same way with music. I love to hear, how did you come up with that hook and that melody and all of that? That excites
Yeah, I
me
love
more
that
than
because I've been here since 1996, and I've been trying to write one song so I can go to the mailbox and get those checks.
Yeah, mailbox money.
That's all I want. It's one song, and I cannot put a lyric together to save my life.
What's so
really
funny
can't.
is there was a radio, and I believe it was Jerry House. I remember this as a kid, and I do not know why this vividly sticks in my mind, but Jerry House was like, I know all of those words, but I can't put them together how all of these, big-time songwriters can put them together. And for whatever reason, like I hear those songs, and I'm like, I could define 10% of those words, but I don't know how to put them all together,
Yeah, my wife said something to me once. We were in an argument, and I said, what is your problem? And she goes, don't hate me for missing you. I go, holy cow, that's a country lyric.
It's a hook.
I said, yeah, it's a hook. I just haven't figured out how to get it. I've even talked to songwriters. I go, could you make it a song and just put me on the thing? So I'll take 20% of the mailbox money.
Anything, every 13 weeks is Christmas, right?
And my royalty checks are 43 cents from A&E. I always go to the bank and I go, you hear about these big royalty checks? There you go, man.
The check is big.
I didn't want to cash it because it would screw up the accountant on the other end. There's 43 cents, and I balance it here. Get that Jeff Allen to cash this check.
Okay, so you talked a little bit that you kind of like stand-up enough to maybe dabble with going to an open mic.
Oh, yeah. You should.
Yeah. I was telling... Before we sat down and started doing this, I told my wife, I was like, I think I may try I guess it's the East Room, I guess is where you go. And I know nothing of this world, right? And my wife was like, you can't hardly make us laugh. I don't think you're going to make random people laugh.
Yeah, but they don't count. My wife never laughs. If she's laughing, it's because I'm bombing.
Sure.
Yeah, or I'm suffering in some way. That makes her laugh.
And so I told my wife, I said, hey, listen, I thought I was good enough to play professional golf, and when you show up to a mini tour event and you're last by like 14, 15, 16 shots and you've shot 90 and you've got to show back up tomorrow and play with the same guy that you just embarrassed yourself in front of, even if I bomb, at least I don't have to see those people tomorrow. Right.
Yeah.
I shot 90 and had to go back.
Yeah, I played one mini tour event and realized I didn't have what it took. It took me one.
Yep.
And it's funny because Yeah, every now and then I'll shoot a 60-something, and now I'm 69, so it doesn't matter. But back when I was 40s, someone go, man, have you thought about it? And I go, yeah, let's see, my competition would be Ben Crenshaw, Tom Kite, Tommy Watson. No, I have no illusions. I have no illusions. Yeah, but it was so funny. You talk about the mini tours. Most people aren't even familiar with. Did you play in the Hooters tour?
So I actually I caddied a good friend of mine who's big on Instagram for doing golf shots and YouTube and all that. I caddied for him to kind of. He was like, "Hey, I want you to come out. I want you to caddy. I want you to see what this is like before." You start, like, you can come out here and you can do this. And so I played on, like, the Florida Pro Tour during the winter, and I did some stuff in North Carolina. But that's when the American Mini Tour was like the American Mini Tour. I mean, those guys were making really good money, and it was all the stars that are now playing on the tour, you know? I mean, Keegan Bradley was out there. Tony Finau and his brother used to play on the e-golf. And it was cool because I got to see some of those guys who you see them hit a ball one time and you're like, yeah, I don't have that.
Right.
You know,
I remember somebody talking about Nick Price when he got on a tour. I forget who the pro was, but he said he heard this sound and he looked up and he goes, I got work to do.
Yep.
You know, there was a completely different sound coming off the club.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to me. If you have a kid that's a prodigy, they always ask, what should he be shooting? And I remember when I was coming up, it was 65 at your home course. If you could shoot that relatively consistently, you got a shot, maybe. Now it's how close are you coming to breaking 60 consistently at your home course. And these parents that, I'm trying to get my granddaughter in because as a woman, female, if she can break 80, she can get a college scholarship.
Yeah, 100%.
And unless they, start dominating it with men in skirts. Hey there, I'm here to tee off
I'm
with
here playing
you.
the ladies tour.
I don't know. I've met some female golfers, and I feel like, female golf fans, and that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
My name's Tina.
Yeah. Well,
I like women's basketball. I like women's golf, and I softball coach down here at the YMCA.
That's right. We the Dinosaur was known for years as a hangout.
Okay, so I know nothing about golf, so if you guys go that way, I'm going to be so confused. But I would like to know how you got started in golf, because I've only ever known people that are in recovery that do golf, because otherwise they'll drink themselves to death unless I look at this golf ball.
Well, it is such a parallel to the personality that abuses alcohol and drugs. I always said it's just as expensive, just as annoying, just as angering, but it's legal.
It's 100% legal. And you're always... Yeah, so I got.
And then the self-loathing that most alcoholics have is justified during golf. So you can walk around for 5 hours saying you suck. You suck.
What am I doing out here?
You're a loser. You're a loser. So it doesn't play well when you're doing it in your living room. Your family's looking at you like, why Dad ate himself so much? And now I have a reason.
But if you have a golf buddy, it's
you
like,
3-putt 5 times, man. That's it. Well, of course I'm a loser. You know?
Everybody's doing this, you know. I got into golf at 19. I played every other sport growing up.
You ever break a club?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Now you're a golfer.
Yeah. I don't think you're a golfer until you've broken a club.
I broke every iron into 18th fairway at Greystone except my wedges. I broke them all. I just stood there one after another. And I got to my wedges. I go, I hit these okay.
I hit these okay. You know, I heard a guy tell me one time, he said, I broke every club but the driver because it was the most expensive club in the bag. And I was like, so you broke everything
So
else.
he had some ration up at that point.
Well, I think he had broken, it had taken him so long that finally he had settled down. And he was like, hey, this driver's like $600. And I was like, so those irons were about $1,200 that you just broke, you know. So, no, my dad played and my brother played. And it was what you just mentioned. It was so maddening that I had played a game where somebody was throwing a ball at you at 90 and I could hit that ball, but I couldn't hit the ball sitting on a tee. Yeah. And I was like, this is not how this is supposed to work.
That's what drove my father insane. My father was a construction guy, and he said guys would hold metal spikes up against a concrete wall. I would take a 16-pound sledge and hit that spike. They never flinch. And I can't hit a stupid little ball.
You can't hit it.
I know.
And it's It's not moving.
It's not moving.
It's on a tee.
Yeah.
And then when you do hit it, you hit it from here to about 6 feet in front of you, or you hit it 50 yards right or 50 yards left, and you're like, this really is not this hard. And so it really did. It became an obsession. And my dad and brother played. And at first it was one of those things that I didn't want to embarrass myself, right? I didn't want to go out and not be able to get the ball in the air and not be able to do that. So I worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And then it became a God thing that I got into the game and that I got into the business and never looked back.
God thing in the way that
I
the
met the right
ball
people.
went straight up.
No,
and you were
it
just
was-
like, I'm always looking up to the Lord.
Well, I said God a lot when I first started, right?
Yeah.
But just meeting the right people that said, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And a lot of people, because I knew nothing of golf and how do you get into golf and how do you get into the golf business, and if you want to try to play competitive, what do you do? And there always seemed to be somebody along the way that
Okay, but truth
had
be
those
told,
answers.
I don't know. Like, what is golf as a job? I'm super dumb about it. I know, like, Tiger Woods, and then he, like, had affairs. Like, that's my whole golf knowledge.
Well,
Well, he can hit a 6-iron,
forever.
220 over water, out of a bunker, with a tight pin.
So is that, like, Happy Gilmore?
That's
Or
beyond happy.
Beyond.
beyond Happy Gilmore in real life?
Yeah.
I think what some of these guys now on tour and some of these kids we see that come through Hermitage Golf Course, how well they can strike a golf ball and what they can make a golf ball do with every club in the bag is incredible. There's shots that I would have only dreamed of being able to hit in competition. Some of these kids are hitting it at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and it's like the game is just and I think
And
that's
they're
every
fearless
sport.
too,
They're
which
fearless.
is what I love.
fearless.
We've seen some kids at Greystone. I was been out there since '96, and I watched 2 or 3 generations of kids go through there, and a couple of them. One of them just qualified for the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Cam, and I think he was 10, and he shot 28 on the back 9 at Greystone. 10 years old. So
strong.
you realize early on that there are prodigies. These guys, you're not surprised that they advance through the things. And it was interesting. There's another one in locally. I know you know who he is. I'm not going to mention his name. A young kid. He's out on tour now, trying to make it. And I know his putting coach.
Sure.
And he said the only thing that's going to derail this kid is women. He's like 17 years old. He's at this tour event, and they're yelling, "Yo, hey, hey!" And they're like, and he's, So yeah, the sky's the limit.
But that's true for every 17-year-old male. Like, across the board. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And the thing about it that I found most impressive is even some of the guys who kicked around the mini tours for years and tried to play professionally and fell short, they're some of the best putters and chip. I mean, their short games are incredible.
Yeah.
And you'll never see them play a tour event. They'll never end up on television. They'll never be a household name. And that's just how razor thin it is from you end up being a club professional at a local golf course, which is a fantastic gig, or you're getting to travel around 20-something weeks out of the year playing a game for a living until the game eventually tells you you don't have it anymore.
Well, it's interesting to me. You're right, because there's a well-known Nashville professional made huge splash on the tour, and I was watching him come up, and he chips in to win a nationwide event, and knocks it in from the fairway to win another event.
Yeah.
And those things just don't. I mean, those shots don't happen. You don't win. You don't. And we've again, there was kids that we helped financially to see if they wanted to do it, and I realized one of them I pulled my money out because he didn't have the work ethic.
That's it.
I remember a pro walking through his kids out at Greystone. They played UT. They played Old Miss. Really quality players. And he walks in, and his son is sitting in the lounge area with all of us. He's 18 years old, ready to go to college. And his dad says, "Every one of your opponents are on a driving range right now. What are you doing in here?"
Yeah.
And the work it takes. I remember Chris DeMarco was another one. He finished second to Tiger at the Masters. And they said, "You have any aspirations?" He was like number 5 in the world or 6 in the world. I mean, amazing.
Sure.
"And you have any aspirations of becoming number 1? He goes, "No, I want a life."
Yeah.
I know what it takes to do that. I see what it takes. I know what they do. It's an isolated sport, which is why I think alcoholics are attracted to it, not being funny. But I believe the sickness of alcoholism is isolationism. You isolate yourself so that because you know you're killing, you're the demons. So it takes a special personality to be inside your head for 5 hours, knowing all that can go wrong, and to try to push that out of the side.
And more times than not, it's going to go wrong than it's going to go right.
Right. Well,
You know,
Tiger,
I mean-
with what did he say? 23% he won, so he lost 77% of his tournaments.
And Hogan said every 18 holes he only hit 3 shots that he thought was a really good golf shot, And
So if this hasn't turned you off to the idea of ever starting the game of golf,
yeah, I don't know if I've done a good job as a PGA golf professional right here trying to grow the game.
but if they had lessons from you,
Yeah.
they would get to the tour.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to say that. I appreciate you saying that for me. But no, I haven't taught a lesson. This is kind of funny to say this, right? I haven't taught a lesson since 2018.
Really?
At Hermitage Golf Course. I am more on the business side. I love the business aspect.
Obviously,
of
you
any
love
business.
meeting people.
I love meeting people.
Talking on the phone.
And I
too.
love giving great customer
More
service.
material. More material.
I told somebody the other day, they said, if you ran out of material, and I said, sir, listen, we see 100,000 people a year. They give material willingly or unwillingly, but they're giving material.
Right.
Which I think it's like anything. The majority of the customers you deal with, 98% of them are very gracious.
So I know
love
you
it,
get this, and Carolyn knows you get this. Hey, I got one for you. And then you got to
100%.
stand there, and it goes on and on. And you want to tell them, you should wear a shirt. Brevity is the soul of wit. Shakespeare.
I do get that a lot, where people
Yeah.
will be like, hey, and I'm like, hey,
I feel
Maybe.
like my golf knowledge is so limited, but you guys golf fancy golf courses, and the ones that I've been to are Hohenwald and
Bless its heart.
and
It's trying to be a golf course.
in Clarksville. Is it Clarksville? No, Centerville.
okay.
And so Hohenwald, I mean, you did the thing where it's like you called, is the sun up? We're open. Hohenwald never open. It doesn't matter what's going on, whatever. And then you show up there, and there's like this girl that's got like a sweatsuit on and like all these extensions, and she's just on Instagram. She's like, yeah, I mean, you can take the cart if you want to, I guess, whatever. Like, it's just so...
Yeah.
And so I've experienced the
Sounds
food
to me
it was
like it's a
tasting.
money laundering operation for the cartels. We lost another $4 million last year. That's all right.
That's good. We needed that tax write-off.
Is Lulu still working? Yeah, Lulu's still out there on Instagram.
That is probably pretty accurate. For sure. Okay, so 19, and then you keep saying like mini tour and then PGA. Like, so how do you go from 19 to now you manage Hermitage?
Well, to put
right?
it into perspective, the mini tour is the comedy club circuit where you're working open mic nights and you're not you're just trying to put together enough to where you can move up.
And to take it a step funny, in comedy, I was not very funny. And so I had to get a real job. I didn't make a lot of cuts.
Well, most comedians should do that, and they don't.
Yeah, you gotta make the cuts
You got
to eat.
You have to. And I love to eat. And I didn't get to eat a whole lot while playing mini tour golf, and I thought, this is absolutely no fun. No, I think everybody who plays a sport at any level, especially at a professional level, eventually you figure out the game's telling you you're not good enough to go do this, which is completely okay, right? I would have rather have tried it, failed, not been good enough to say, well, I wonder what would have happened had I tried to go pursue that. I saw what really, really, really good professional golfers look like. I have some really funny stories and some really cool stories of playing, and thought, And so at Hermitage Golf Course in 2013, said, hey, we have an opening. We think you'd be great for this. Do you want to do this? And I was like, absolutely, I do. Yeah. I didn't know if I wanted to be in the golf business, but I knew enough right then that I wanted to make money. And the traveling around and not making a cut and feeling like I played pretty well.
This is a perfect parallel to comedy.
And so,
well, that's the thing when you assess when you get back to the hotel room and go, I hit it about as well as I could hit it, and I'm still not even in the,
So that's funny you say that. I played about as well as I could play one day and shot 68, 67, doesn't matter. And the guy in my group was like, I played terrible. And he shot 66. And I was like, I'm in the wrong business.
Well, that
I'm in the
was
wrong
Tiger.
business.
When Tiger came out, he said, "Oh, it's nice to win with my C game."
Yeah.
And all these tour pros said, "What an arrogant little twit."
Yeah.
And then he won by 12 shots like 2 weeks later. And they go, "Oh, that's the A game."
Yeah, that's the A game. He made 1,000 foot of putts. That's the A game, And so I think you see that. And I was realistic to know about, I probably did it a little over 18 months, give or take. Now, I would work for a few weeks and then I would go play, and I'd work for a few weeks and I'd go play. But I was realistic pretty early on to say, I'm not hitting it how they're hitting it. And I'm not sure that guy's going to make it. I know I'm not going to make it, And so when Hermitage said, hey, do you want a full-time position? I said, I absolutely do. And it's been fantastic. That's been 2013, and I'm still there, which is good.
Now you're drudging up a lot. Has the golf shop picked up? Like, do you guys have an online golf shop? Do you have golf shop merch? You should. You do?
So we did some stuff through like TikTok, through that TikTok shop. Which
Sketchy.
I guess did okay. Yeah, we haven't really done a whole lot with it.
TikTok shop always scares me.
Yeah. Well, we were learning
I
as
don't know
we
anything
go.
about it.
We did have shirts that said "Golf Shop, this is Chris," and it had Hermitage Golf Course is really known for having sheep on the golf course. We have 75 sheep.
That's the preserve, right?
Yeah. Well, they roam the whole property. Mostly stay on the Presidents because they eat grass, and the grass is tall.
I remember when the President's Reserve opened, and I went down and played it, and I thought, this is as close to Carolina golf as you could get.
That's how we describe
in
it.
Tennessee.
That's how we describe it.
The pines and completely different than the original.
Which is great, right? If you're just taking it from a pure business standpoint to say, hey, I can offer the same property, two completely different golf courses that are maintained perfect.
And not to trash the legends, but all 36 holes look the same to me.
And it's
either side, north or south. It's a nice track.
It's a great track.
But
we can offer something different.
Right, exactly.
So from a business standpoint, it's fantastic, and it's across 500 acres, and so. But to Jeff's point, if you've never been to Hermitage, both of those golf courses are completely different layouts. So we can get a lot of
the original had the LPGA out for years.
Yeah, late 80s through the 90s.
Yeah.
Which was great for Hermitage, and we still have people call and say, I want to play the golf course where the LPGA played, which is great, right? And for me, growing up in Nashville and still hearing that that still means something to me that somebody remembers that from the mid-90s.
Yeah, I'm just shy. I know we had a Corn Ferry event here. The Live played out at the Grove. I just don't understand why Memphis. I know.
Sure.
FedEx is there.
Sure.
That's their corporate.
Yeah.
But for gosh sakes, Nashville should get a tour event.
Without question.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere.
Nate Bargatze can do it. He's in everything else.
Right? Come on, Nate. Figure it out.
Nate golfs. We'll get him on it.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does play quite a bit, I think. Right?
Oh, he does. Yeah, he just played Augusta.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, and played 3 rounds out there, actually. So.
Okay, but you had said something about sheep. I want to go back to the sheep.
Yeah, we have.
So do the sheep maintain the...
Well, they chew and eat grass.
Yeah.
Which means you're not putting a lot of chemicals on that stuff.
That's right. Yeah. But they're really for what we're doing right here. And so I'll tell a quick story. The gentleman who owns the place is Mike Eller. In 2013, 2012, I guess it was, he was playing at Whistling Straits in Kohler, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
and they've got sheep.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
He calls us from the golf course and says, hey, I'm going to put sheep on the golf course. And the gentleman I worked for at the time, who was the director of golf, Jim Vernon, was like, hey, Mike, we're in Old Hickory, Wisconsin, Kohler. It kind of looks like Ireland. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. That was on like a Wednesday. 10 days later, this guy with sheep shows up. And he's like, hey, I've got 12 sheep for you. And my boss at the time was like, I don't think you do. And he was like, how about you walk out here and take a look, man? So,
yeah, they're all used up in our ranch.
And so we started with 12 and now we're 75.
The boys are tired of these 10.
Friday's late, Jeff. Oh, my God.
Man.
You know what else Whistling Straits has? That I've been trying. I told West Haven they need to do. Every golf course needs to do this. They have a masseuse at the driving range. You go in, they stretch you out for 10 or 15 minutes, you drop a 20 on the table, and you go hit golf balls. And I thought, what a great win-win.
Sure.
I guarantee you she's not charging the course anything.
Sure.
She just sets up a table and a little tent.
Yeah.
And all these old guys, we just lay down there. You know? And I said, this is great, man. You know.
That is there's a business model on the range. Yeah. I didn't know they did that, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's what like Hermitage, you know, minus the LPGA. But I would say like today, that is what Hermitage is really known for. We have people all the time who, I mean, we've changed our logo. We have gone all in on the sheep. And it's been fantastic.
My 7-wood head cover is a sheep with. You know,
we have those.
Did
you get it from Whistling Straits?
Yeah, Whistling Straits. Yeah.
Yep. So if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm right about this. There's 2 golf courses that have that because I think the same company, and I don't know if we've changed, but the same company makes that head cover for us and for Whistling Straits. Okay. And I think there's 2 golf courses in the country that have the head cover that you're referencing.
I was telling Chris this before we started. It's so embarrassing, but the golf swag, like I didn't realize until I started working with you that there's this whole golf culture and clothing and all this stuff. And I walked into a golf shop and I saw this it was like a shamrock hat or something, and I had seen those everywhere for a long time. And Tony Robbins wears them, and I thought that they were Tony Robbins merch. So for years, I've been going up to people and telling them like Tony Robbins quotes because I thought they were like in on it. I'd be like, "Burn the boats," and they just be like, "This is a weird lady." And I thought it was like his merch. Yeah. It's totally not. It's a golf hat.
No, I took my grandson to Greystone yesterday, and he walks in. He's wearing a T-shirt. I said, "You can't be on a golf course. You need a golf shirt." Mm-hmm. He goes, "There's golf shirts, Papa?" I go, "Of course there is." We walk in, put him in a shirt. He goes, you know. So now he's a golfer. He's never hit a ball, but he's got the shirt.
That's all that matters.
You're on the path, man.
Look good, feel good, play good. You know, now you're all in on golf, man.
Yeah, my funniest story. They had golf camp at Greystone. My granddaughter. I couldn't wait for one of my grandchildren because neither one of my sons played. Your kids play?
I got young kids. They're just now getting into it.
Okay. Well, I was hoping one of my...
6 months old.
I've got a 3-week-old.
Oh. Get a club! What are you waiting for?
I'm trying to get him a job, not a club. And so I got a little girl who, she'll turn 6 Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And
she's a 3-week-old.
She's let the world know. And then we've got a little boy. My wife and I have a little boy who will turn 4 in October. So.
Oh, okay.
We're in it.
Yeah. So anyway, I get my granddaughter into golf camp. Couldn't wait. And she's 11 years old right now. She's 5'7" or 8. She's got hands as big as mine. She's got feet as big as mine. I go.
She's gonna love that you said that.
I said, "Baby, she's at church camp right now. She's not watching this." So anyway, I get her into golf camp, and after camp, I go to the pro, and I said, "Look, do you give 7-year-olds lessons?" He goes, "Sure, my son's about that age." So, yeah. Anyway, he's taking a lesson, and she's left-handed, so he's got her swinging. And he says, "We want to swing kind of that way, so pick a place you want to go to, and that's where we want to go with our swing." She said, "The beach." She goes, "Okay, we're going to the beach." Now, over there, we don't want to come over, and pull things over there, so we'll pick a place we don't want to go. She goes, "Golf camp." I said, "Oh, baby girl, you love golf camp." She goes, "No, Papa, I only did it because you wanted me to do it." Oh my God! Anyway, I felt so bad. I looked at, I said, "I didn't know that because it was 90 degrees.
Sure.
And she's out there,
Sure.
But my grandson said the other day, he just likes driving a cart. He's 9. And I said, "If we're going to come out here, you're going to start learning how to hold a club, and because I need a playing partner." Yeah. It's like my dream. Every time I see fathers and sons, or fathers and daughters, or grandfathers, I see family playing. There's this hole in me.
Sure.
Because it's what a great way to spend an afternoon with your family.
Yeah.
It's like you're in a park.
Yeah.
And if you can get over the angering madness of the game itself and just realize, it took me years to get to a place where I enjoy the social aspects of the game. What I shoot is an irrelevant thing. Right. There's still part of me that's competitive.
Right.
Can you guys sell that at Hermitage? I mean, I don't see that in the advertising for golf as much.
I think we do. So there's a thing, and you've probably heard of this, but there's a thing called the PGA Junior League, which is a fantastic program through the PGA. We started one. I actually started one in 2014. We started with 48 kids, and like many of things at Hermitage Golf Course, once I got out of the way and somebody else took it over, it absolutely took off. And so we had a female pro who took it over named Janelle, and she grew it to unbelievable heights. And then we've got another professional who handles it now named Cole Murley, and it's a top 25 program in the country.
Really?
We have 120 students. They had to break it up into multiple segments just because we can't house 120. But what we do is we have a family golf night. And so all the kids in that program, they go out and they play a scramble format with their parents. And then we literally do a drive-in movie on the range where we usually park the golf cars like an old-timey drive-in. We've shown the Sandlot. We've shown any like
kids
little
need a
restaurant.
surrogate papa?
Come on. Come on. You would love it. And it's honestly, out of all the really cool things you get to do with the golf business, and this isn't trying to be whatever, this is the honest to goodness truth. Out of all the cool things that we get to do through Hermitage and a lot of the cool events we get to see, it's the greatest event we do at Hermitage Golf Course.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, again, I know, I played with my father. Bless his heart. He's long gone, but he was a lunatic. And absolutely, and it triggered all my childhood issues while I was out playing with him. The size, and you'll appreciate this. He tinkered his entire life with the golf swing, and he would say things like, "I figured it out." It was just like, "Okay, Dad." He goes, "If I get these V's lined up to this earlobe, halfway back." And I go, "How do you hit a ball thinking that?" He goes, "I didn't start when I was 8 years old." And I don't think he ever posted an official 18-hole score. He'd X out, he'd slam club, and then we'd get into the the restaurant afterwards. He goes,
"Josh,
thank you, son. I had so much fun today."
I said, "Did you?" Because I thought of 12.
Tell you, and my mother would call me and she would say, "Please understand, Jeff, how much your father loves playing golf with you." I said, "Mom, it's hard. It's really hard, So there's a part of me when I see that, or I get paired up with fathers and sons, and again even daughters. It's something that I don't think people who don't play understand. 4.5, 5 hours out there, because 90% of the time you're just talking.
Sure.
You're hitting shots 10% of the time you're out there. And I think it's what the first tee did with teaching character through the game of golf, because it is. You call penalties on yourself. You don't. There's certain things you just don't do, and it creates an integrity inside a young man who maybe never was given that. So kudos on you for not only just starting it, but growing it to the point where that's quality family time.
It is.
You're not looking at a device. You're not talking about things that divide people. You're just out there having fun in a park.
And I think that was us for the videos, when the videos kind of started to go, right? And to your point about the golf is, and we spoke about this before, the world at this point needs way more laughter.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to laugh at ourselves more. We need to be able to laugh at one another more in non-serious issues. And for 4.5, 5 hours, especially, because it's moms, it's dads, it's brothers, it's sisters. My dad got me in the game. I just referenced that. And at 19, when I really started to try to play competitive golf right around here, doing some of the TGA stuff and all that, my dad would still drive and go watch, and I'm 19, 20, 21 years old, and I'll always remember that. My father passed in 2015, and so to see now when my kids come to the golf course and they want to go hit golf balls, and my little boy right now, he's in every kind of, he wants to play basketball and he wants to play football and he wants to do all of that, and to see my little girl, she's starting to get into that, but she loves to cheer, she loves to dance, and she loves to do all that. But as a dad, I want to try to be like my parents never missed really anything.
Right.
And so it was that family time that we didn't really have family dinner, and we didn't really sit down at the table because my brother's 7 years older than us. So to your point, to see those families come out, it's the best.
It's hard in your business you're in because it's a lot of hours. My cousin was a pro in a club pro, head pro, and he said, "I wish I made the money people think I make, and I wish I played as much golf as people think I play."
Amen to that.
And he got out of the golf business because of I think he had the same car he had when he was in college, a VW Rabbit, with like 350, 400,000 miles on it. And after 2 years of being a head pro and working 80 hours a week, he bought himself a Hyundai Sonata.
There you go.
And the rumblings started at the club. I think we're paying him too much.
I can tell how much you guys love this so much because you're like, this family time and you're spending time in a park. And I'm like, the 5 times I went with this person I love so much, I'm like, run me over with this freaking golf cart. Put me out of my misery. Miss a shot and hit my face. Like, it is so hot. And it is, and if you can't, you guys are frustrated about how you can hit the ball. Imagine showing up day 135 and it's like, I'm going to spend time with this guy that I love. And then it's like, I'm angry now. I'm just pissed off. Like, I'm just fired
you're
up.
a competitive person.
Yeah. Well, what I can attribute it to is I did amateur bass fishing tournaments for years, for like 5 or 6 years.
These layers of you that just keep going up.
I know. They never end.
She rode a motorcycle for years. I didn't even know that.
And so I would be like, yeah, I mean, you're there, you get up at 6 a.m., you floor the boat, and you got to get to your spot before everybody else does. And it's like that puzzle piece of, these are the weather conditions. These are the tools I'm going to use. This is where the fish are going to be at this time. And like your dad, it's like this V plus this V. If I use this crankbait at this time, when they're in the shadows, I know. And it's like this forever puzzle. And I would invite people, and I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go fishing." And they'd be like, "We're going to go hang out on the lake."
Yeah.
And this is going to be so nice. And I'm like, no, we're fishing. Like, it reminds me of that. You're like, this is going to be this fun time.
There are, again, you know this, there are these, and I was that way with my kids. That's why they don't play. I was a lunatic. I mean, I took a turn. My sons would come back. It's funny now, wasn't it? I tried so hard to be that dad. And I was my father's son. So I'd throw clubs and I'd go, "It's not you guys, it's me, it's Dad." They're 7 and 4. But every time they came back, they had mud from the tear streaks, because they always ended up crying because I had to yell at them. They're chasing each other with rakes. They're being kids. And I go, "You can't do this, stop it!" And so he'd come in the house and Tabby would look at him with the mud tear streak. Oh, another box office day on the golf course for Dad and his sons. So I wasn't surprised when my youngest was taking lessons at Legends from Bobby McKeever. I love Bobby, and one of the best teachers around. And after about 6 lessons, he came to me. He said, "He's not practicing, is he?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We're going over the same stuff every week." So I went to my son. I said, "You don't want to do this?" He goes, "No, Dad, I really don't." And I said, "Well, then I'm not going to live my frustrated dreams through you as much as I want to." But to this day, if we played a scramble years ago, I remember, and he knows how to hold a club, he knows how to stand, and so anyway, I had the time of my life. I really did, just being out there with him, and we didn't even come close to winning anything, and I didn't care. I just you're gonna force your kids to play? Come on, admit it, you are.
Yeah, we've got, when this ends, we've got about a 4-hour range session lined up. You got to start.
Keep hitting. Those kids that you're going to be playing against, they're on a range right now.
They're already breaking 40,
and
I don't care if you are 3 weeks old. They've already got a Fisher Price set. Let's figure it out.
Let's go.
And then they're going to go work afterwards because,
Oh, here's a story. You'll love this. My son was sitting on my lap. I'm watching the U.S. Open with my son on the lap. And I saw it was when Kuchar, Dad caddied for him in the U.S. Open, and I said, "Son, I hope one day I can caddy for you at the U.S. Open." He goes, "Okay, Dad, I'm going to play in the U.S. Open." I don't know, 6 months later, we're on a driving range, and he's 7 or 8, and he keeps lifting the club up, and I'm trying to get him to pull it back. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stay out of it, but you got it, and he's getting mad, crowded driving range. And I said, he's getting frustrated. I mean, 7 years old. He's his father's son. So anyway, I said, hey, man, why don't you go down, sit down, take a breath, relax a little bit. Dad will hit a few balls. And then he goes, but I got to get in the U.S. Open. And every father in their race looked at me and said, oh, my God, it's Earl Woods. I go, I wanted to go down and explain to every one of them, that's not the story.
Or you just say, hey, he's got dreams, and so do I.
Yeah, exactly. But you told me I got to get in the U.S. Open. Whoa, man. No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, you got to have lofty goals.
Right, exactly.
But I think that's all kind of, and that's, I think that's sometimes the worst part of amateur athletics is the parents. And it's not just golf.
Know it is.
It's not just golf.
Not at all.
Well,
Little League.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
I've done some stuff on my own page on like coaching videos and how 8U travel balls is just, it's off the wall.
Yeah.
And travel ball in general is off the wall. And it's like, we've got this World Series what we got to get ready for. And it's like, this World Series is 2 counties over. And you're playing the same teams you've played for the last 3 months. Like, You wrote a check. Like, let's figure out how to teach the kids the game. And that's what our junior program is, right? Is when we started this, and I believe from coaching that people in general, you're intrinsically competitive or not. I don't know if by me yelling at you at 9 years old is making you any more competitive. You either have
I never
that or
responded
not.
to that as a player in baseball.
I
never responded to a coach yelling at me.
Right.
And it's funny, the one year that we did really well, we lost our first game, and our coach took us to Shakey's Pizza. You never take a losing team to Shakey's, You give them a candy bar and you go home,
Meet me for a 4-hour
And we
practice.
sat there, we were like 15, 16, it was a traveling all-star team, and we sat there when Gary got up to coach. We got to win for this guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. And we ended up winning the next 16 games. Yeah. In a row. We and again, it was just he wasn't berating us for losing, and everybody responds differently to things,
That's right.
But we all had that one kid whose father stood behind the fence screaming at him,
Mm-hmm.
This guy sucks. This guy sucks. Don't let him hit you. And you want to turn around.
Right.
I ain't your kid.
That's right.
But you wonder if he wound up stabbing somebody, Whatever happened to so-and-so, did he? Because his father was my dad would come with a 2.5-gallon cooler full of vodka and tonics, They'd cut up 30 limes, they'd pour a half a gallon of vodka in there. And my parents were loaded by the end of the game. They didn't even know I was playing.
You might as well have gone 4 for 4.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
with the junior program, you had mentioned that a lot of these kids are just exceeding historically what kids had done at that age. Is there anything happening with like technology advances with how the golf, I don't know.
No,
the golf
I
clubs,
think
the way they're
absolutely there are. The club 10 years ago and the club what it is now is so much different.
Are you seeing kids at 9, 10 getting fit? Really?
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because when I first started in the golf business as an assistant golf professional, I fit for one of the manufacturers. The head golf professional at the time thought it would be a really good idea for me to be able to network, and it is. I would tell any kind of young professional getting into the game, learn how to fit clubs. You get to meet golf professionals, you get to meet people, and the networking is great.
Fit clubs.
So you can show up and they'll run you through exactly what club.
Explain to the neophyte over there what fitting clubs
because I
is.
thought you meant are these kids getting fit? So I was like, are they cold plunging? Are they lifting?
They are doing
what
that
are
too.
These children
But
doing?
Doing that as well.
For
creatine, more creatine.
Yeah, gotta have a protein. I would say for bass fishing, you had a certain rod and reel that you thought was right.
Yeah.
I'm very naive, which I don't understand. We need to go over here for the part of the lake, or the lake looks all the same to me.
Right.
The fish are everywhere. I kind of thought so. That's why I never got into fishing. It's
just like you were talking about reading the green.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like you would have a rod and reel that you thought was perfect, and this is the setup you're supposed to use if you're trying to catch XYZ fish. Exact same thing in the golf business.
Yeah.
Okay.
The right shaft, the right club head, the right.
I just got a new
everything.
driver, and I told Tammy she can sleep in the couch. I'm sleeping with the driver for my member.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
I love my new driver.
And then it even. I mean, you may even have to have a whole nother bedroom with a brand new putter.
Oh my God! If I ever got one.
That's a totally
Oh my
different
gosh!
deal.
Well, we're not Mormons here, right? Let's bring it down a notch.
And so yeah, I see kids at 9, 10 years old I mean, they're getting fit for irons and 3-woods and drivers, and I mean,
they grow so fast. Why would you spend,
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think
I understand taking the head.
Sure.
If you grow up with the same head on your irons, you
Yeah.
know, I kind of get that because aesthetically you want to look down and just
That's
be
right.
comfortable with what you see. But as far as the shafting goes, my grandson's 9.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, should I get a set of U.S. kids or should I just cut down? And my wife had an old set of graphites that were women, so they're softer shafts.
Mm-hmm.
Just get those cut to fit.
I would.
Yeah.
I
that's
would. I would just do that.
my father cut down old blades, man. You talk about
Yeah,
it.
no fun.
No, not at all. No flex at all, man. So I learned to swing hard.
Yeah, you were looking at a butter knife, looking
That's
down
it.
at that blade.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's the technology has. Oh my goodness! Even in the last 4, 5, 6 years, the technology has changed drastically. But so is the athlete, right? I mean, you think they're getting fit? They're working out. They're going to personal trainers. I mean, they're.
Tiger did all that.
Yeah, he did all of that.
Yeah.
He did
They're
all of that.
taking it really seriously.
That's
Okay.
why I like Calcavecchia. He won a tournament, and he said, a lot of these young guys are going to the gym. I'm going to the bar, get a beer and a brat.
I'm hungry.
Scott's hanging out here.
Well, I always picture like when I pictured golfers until knowing Jeff, I always pictured like the Arnold Palmer kind of personality guy, like just that, whatever that was. Everything I've ever heard about him, just that he was kind of wild, right?
Arnie?
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah, I guess.
I got a hole-in-one at Bay Hill,
Do you really?
and he never sent me an autographed picture. So he's dead now, but he was dead to me at that moment.
I've never hit one. I've played now since I'm 36, 19. I don't really know what that math works out to be, but I've gotten close. But as many rounds as I've played, I've never hit a hole in one yet.
My first hole-in-one was on my bachelor party, party is kind of a misnomer. There were 4 of us. We were
Okay.
playing golf. I imbibed a little bit. I was a little drunk. I was a lot drunk. My card read 13-11-1. And we come running into the pro shop, and I'm like, because my first hole-in-one, and they didn't believe me.
Sure.
You
Look at this bachelor
pros,
party.
man, I'm
You
telling
guys
you.
behind the counter.
You guys behind the counter, you don't care.
You were telling me about like bachelor parties on the golf course. Can you tell Jeff that story?
Yeah, so... and
You tell him the story. I'm going to
you
go
all
use the
know
restroom,
this. I mean,
but I'll be back.
It's Bachelor Party Central in Nashville right now. Bachelor Party Central. And,
Oh, I know.
I mean, they're
Bachelorette as well.
Bachelorette. So we every Friday, we probably have 10 or 12 groups of 12 or more guys.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's wild. Oh, yeah. So, and you know this, you don't bring in outside alcohol to the golf course. So this guy's got his bag, and he's got two 6-packs in each hand of Michelob Ultra. Bachelor party, and I said, hey, man, I can't let this happen.
Yeah.
You can't bring in outside alcohol. And he was like, really? And I was like, man, it's not just us. It's universal, no matter what golf course you go to. So he pauses for a minute, he looks around, he goes, you gonna take my shrooms? And I said, well, sir, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know you had shrooms. I could see the alcohol. And he goes, that first batch is really kicking in, sir. And I thought, you're gonna be a problem. This is gonna be a problem today.
Yeah.
But that's some of what golf, especially in Nashville, is starting to have to kind of sift through and handle on bachelor parties who they show up, they do spend quite a bit of money because they need rental clubs and they need golf balls and they're going to buy beer and they're going to buy food. And Jeff, my opinion is they're not intentionally trying to slow the golf course down.
Right.
But if they're teeing off at, let's call it 10 o'clock, and the next thing they're doing is downtown at 7 o'clock, why do they care if they play in 4 or 5 hours?
Right.
They're here to have a great time.
Right.
They're going to enjoy themselves. They don't care that you and I were local to Nashville and we want to try to play in 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
They're just here to have a good time.
I wish they'd teach juniors not score but time.
Right on.
How well did you play today? 3.5 hours. Good for you.
That's right.
I just played with a kid. It's interesting with guys like Snedeker was the first one I saw play that basically just look and hit. And then Aberg, Ludwig. I've even picked up trying to I liken it to shooting free throws.
Sure.
Nobody's shooting a free throw says, well, the rim is 10 feet high.
Right.
I got 22 feet from there to the rim. I got to, if I get the arc at 14%, I can get a,
Yeah, I can make
I got to
this.
put this much force behind. I mean, nobody thinks like that. So why do you do like that with a golf?
Right.
You've hit tens of thousands of golf balls, so why not just step up and hit, And that would speed up play considerably. And double bogey max should be, you know, honestly, what do you care if you post a 110
That's right.
or a 115?
We're just here to have a good time.
I mean, exactly.
You know?
And I play with guys on the road a lot that don't play, and I just tell them, let's just keep pace. That's all I ask. And I wish more people were aware of the people behind them. But I understand that as a bachelor party, you get in your own little world and you're cutting up, you're laughing with friends,
But shrooms? That's a lot.
I mean, that's a lot.
I'll tell you this, you don't need shrooms if you want to play golf. You just need to wear trifocals. And same effect.
Yeah, it's.
I need trifocals, but I won't get them because of golf.
Sure.
I cannot see a ball. It goes up and then I lose it. It's just I kind of have an idea what direction. I know how far I hit things, so I'm not too far off. But guys will ask, where'd it go? I go, I can't tell you, man.
Never saw it.
It was out of my sphere.
So you had mentioned that it was like a real God thing that put you in the position that you're in now. Have you always been a believer? Were you, raised in Old Hickory, I'm assuming?
Yeah, right. Go to a private Christian school. I don't have a great story, right? I mean, it was.
Every story's great. Just
Well, it was.
Oh, you can embellish. That helps our podcast numbers.
Well, then let's start from here. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was.
When did you start smoking crack?
Man.
It was probably 6 months after I started at Hermitage.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what year did I pick up golf.
I didn't do crack, but I did shrooms.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people have them.
Yeah, well, that's what's wild sometimes.
And we have no evidence locker at Hermitage.
And we decide what goes to lost and found. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I've always.
What's the coolest thing you ever had to put in lost and found? I mean, anybody lose, a sex toy or anything out there?
Friday late. Sheep and sex toys.
Funny you say that. We had some plumbing issues. I'm serious. And had to call the plumber out, and he had to take the toilet off because he was like, "Hey, it's probably nothing. I see this all the time." And so he takes the toilet off, and he calls me back, and he's like, "Hey, you're never going to believe what I don't want to leave this on a voicemail," is what he told me. You're never going to believe, and he said, we blew the line out and we found a plug, if you know what I'm talking about. And I said, I'm sorry? And he said, I'm not. He said, Chris,
that's so funny.
I wish I knew that I could come up with something like this. And that was a true story. So that's probably the oddest thing we've had somebody tell us.
I wonder if it's like when you forget your phone, and you're like,
I'm missing something. Something doesn't feel right.
I got my keys. I got my
My
do I have my
phone.
water bottle?
We've had people like.
We'll have to hashtag that to sell this episode.
Yeah.
Hashtag butt whatever.
We've had guys leave one shoe. So.
Really?
Yeah, it's golf business is wild. But that, and I guess that didn't go into lost and found. But.
I lose towels constantly.
Yeah.
I started buying them at Costco by the dozen.
You know what people are losing more now is the rangefinders because you can magnetize.
Yeah, and I never got one back. I've had my name on it with all this stuff and never get them back.
And which is great because you can just put it right there and hey, here we go.
But that's part of integrity. Let me explain a little life lesson for you people out there. If you find something that costs $450, why don't you just take a step back and go, I know this doesn't belong to me. Even though I don't know who this belongs to, I know it doesn't belong to me. How about I turn it back in? Because somebody might miss this. Just a little.
Rangefinder, plugs, whatever. You find them, return them.
Return them. Well, plugs, I clog up a toilet bowl.
Sure did.
How large was that?
That's so upsetting. What I'm learning, though, is there's a seedy underbelly to golf club country community.
Sure.
Like there's
the pineapple flag.
The pineapple, get the West Haven. I had no.
We don't want to mention names.
Oh no.
But there's a community.
There's a community where I met the sweetest lesbian couple at the gym the other day, and they were telling me they were like, like Spring Hill, the athletic community, like it's all swinger, and I'm like, but. how can you do like Baptist casserole on Wednesday and then
Well, I
share your
just
wife
say
on
any
Tuesday?
ill this society has here in Nashville is Californians. So
We
they're
brought it
bringing
all.
their culture with. That's all. We're moving east. They need us. So I blame everything on Californians. I don't care. If I had a hangnail in the morning, I would just go, "Darn
somebody from
Californians."
San Diego.
It just surprised, like, it's so funny because I'm 35. I come from like a really dark background, and it surprises me that I'm still shocked about. But they have nice shoes and a collar, like, and they golf, like they
Right.
can't. And I'm always like, and it's so dumb on my
Imagine
part.
God's view of us. You know, looking. I've always said this. I said that God gave mankind the internet so we could see the world as He sees it.
Wow.
You know, with all its debauchery and all its joy and all its beauty. I mean, it's all in the internet. Everything you want is there.
That's a really great perspective.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
so here, this is what I see. Welcome to my world. You know, and then when people get exposed in the dark, the darkness gets exposed to the light. I still have mixed things about that. To me, culturally, this gotcha thing, you know, my life precludes me from ever judging another anyway.
Sure.
So
That should be all our lives, though, don't you
that
think?
should be, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it was like when Tiger had his fall.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pastor tell me I'm no longer letting my kids watch Tiger. I go, why not?
Right.
Why did you watch them? If you're turning your kids into an athlete for moral guidance, you're an idiot.
You're wrong.
You're the moral guide, and then he's the moral guide. You let him work through you, and then you raise your children, hopefully, in the way they should be brought up. But I watched Tiger because he can hit a 6-iron 220 over water in a tight. That was it.
Yeah.
That was my only reason. And
Which is sad because his name, for someone that doesn't golf, it's like now he's only attached to whatever, like you're
that's what's
talking
sad,
about. The like
is that
gotcha.
the internet never forgets.
Right.
Remember,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're old enough. I know you're not old enough to remember permanent record. Everything that happened in grade school. This is going on your permanent record, young man. And we'd go, ooh.
Oh no! Yeah, you know what?
Like
You're
you're
right.
gonna get pulled over by the cops 20 years later. It says, here, you stole a pack of juicy fruits.
See, you had a
You were
bear
7.
moved instead of rage. You know?
So we never worried.
got
But
you.
now, that's one of the first conversations I had with my grandchildren was, this device you have remembers everything.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that. You know, I don't want to freak you out, but I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
be very careful what you post and what you put out and what you say and all this other stuff, because it's there for life.
This makes me feel convicted. Look, if you lost your plug at Hermitage, or if you are a pineapple community person, I am sorry. I'm
No, we wanna
sorry
talk
I
to you.
judged you.
We need the ratings. We need to talk to you.
Okay,
Did
so
he tell anybody? I mean, or her? Was it a woman?
We have no idea.
Oh, anyway,
Yeah,
but did they, I wonder if they told anybody.
I don't
can't
think so.
believe this. I lost it.
I
It's
don't
gone.
think so.
It's down the toilet.
it had my name on it and everything.
I don't think anybody came in and said, "Hey, you're never going to believe this," you know. But this
It's not
is
like
what
a
I've
wedding
lost,
ring.
you know, which we find a lot of those too.
You do? I used to take my ring off. I told my wife, I said, you're, the only callus I have is because of this ring. Because I hit golf balls.
Yep.
And it changed the way my hand felt on the club.
Sure.
So I would put it on, and one day I left it on a bracelet I had in the cart, and I realized I could have lost my wedding ring. So I learned to hit balls with my wedding ring on.
We have a lot of those.
That's so sweet. Okay, so to circle back, because we were talking lost and found, but before that, we were talking this is a terrible follow-up to what we were just talking about.
You know how
but-
bad this is when an ADD person is pulling us back
Has
on
to
track?
keep us on track.
This is bad. That's how
like
far
I've-
off the
feel like I've
reservation.
messed up
That's
here.
how far off the reservation we are.
We have hit it out of
You know.
bounds here, guys.
Hey, kids.
We have hit it out of bounds over
Yeah.
here.
Everybody, eyes up here. So you said you didn't have a crazy road to Damascus, but you grew up at Old Hickory. You grew up in faith, and you feel like because I feel like you talk about the junior club thing. Kind of, do you feel like that's a ministry that you've been handed?
I think it was, right? I am completely out of it now.
Oh, yeah.
And
God
Cole
put
and
the
them do all
Janelle,
of that.
or-
Yeah, Janelle and then Cole Murley, who he handles it now. Just growing up at DCA and growing up with the parents I did, right? I mean, you talk about a moral compass. That was my parents. That was never an athlete, right? And my parents weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they taught me right from wrong, and they taught me to work hard, and they taught me to. There was always, and I think especially in the South, I think there's always been a huge kind of morality type deal, right? And I think some of that's still there.
It is a cultural thing.
I think so.
It's interesting when I get out of the culture, because when I first moved here, Tammy accused someone of stealing the groceries, and I go, "Who's stealing your groceries?" She goes, "Jeff, I had my arms were," and the guy comes over, he goes, "Sure, let me help you." I go, "I heard in the South, they actually are nice people. Maybe he was just trying to help you out." She goes, "Why would anyone do that?" But you get down here and you realize that the faith language, have a blessed day.
Yep.
Those things when you go up north and you say have a blessed day, they go, "Hmm?"
One of the wild things is being at the golf course now saying yes sir, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
And people will look at you and be like what? When they come in from whether it's
My
California
kids
or north
just
or whatever.
started that on their own. They went to school maybe 4 months, and then one night I said, "Hey, could you pass the salt?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And I was, and then I liked it, and I started saying it, "Yes, ma'am." And some woman in New York, I was buying tickets at the kiosk on Times Square they have same day tickets for Broadway plays. You save a lot of money. So she goes, 2 tickets for Chicago, 2:00 matinee. I said, "Yes, ma'am." "Ma'am, do you see a large, fat, black one?" And I wanted to say, "Yeah, actually I do," but, I said, well, "Okay, let's keep it hostile. I can do both. I mean, I really can. I was raised, hostile. I can go back to that. But I didn't realize it was such a disparaging thing to certain parts of our culture, because to me, I found it to be that colloquialism, that cultural thing here, to be respectful, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, Old Hickory, South, whatever, right? That was just taught. I mean, that was a taught trait. That's how you responded to
And Mr.
adults.
Chris, when I introduced my grandson if I introduced him to you, I go, "This is Mr. Chris." Right. So they learn to use that, Mr., Mrs., ma'am, whatever. I'd hate to see that go away.
Agreed. My wife and I try to instill that in our kids as well, right? That it's just a sign of, and that's what we've tried to explain to some people at the golf course, right? It's just a sign of respect.
Right.
It's just a sign of Southern hospitality and customer service and the experience that we want you to have at Hermitage Golf Course. And I think we're getting off track here again. I'm so sorry, but that is...
It's okay, we got ADD over there.
She'll bring us back. She'll bring us back. But that is kind of the customer service that we want you to have at Hermitage Golf Course, that somebody's going to greet you with a smile. Somebody's going to
Unless you call on the phone.
Oh, that's totally different. that's not in person, right? That's totally different.
Question.
Yeah, I mean, but you get the response that's reserved there for that, right? No, but we want you to have that experience that when you walk in the door at Hermitage Golf Course, it feels like home, right? And it feels like somebody explained it, said I played a public golf course and I had a private course feel where it was Mr. and Mrs. and you handled our golf bag and you met us with a smile and you addressed us and
that stuff is so easy to do.
It takes no effort.
I know, and that's the thing. Again, I've been at golf courses on the road that, hey man, get another job.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had some people out at Greystone. They were going under, and I don't want to mention the company that took it over, but they were just hated. They just felt like Dixon was a purgatory for them. They thought we were a bunch of hicks. Yeah. One guy told me, "You always golf in jeans?" I said, "In the winter I do. I got tired of wearing $200 pair of slacks in the mud, And so...
we spoke a little bit about that, how golf has going a little bit more casual.
Well, the live tour ain't helping.
No, and I think...
I got a problem with that. It's so funny because I have friends that just love... watching
you have a problem with the live tour?
The shorts. No, I have a problem with the shorts. I don't have a problem with the live tour at all.
I love how you're fired up. I love when Jeff gets fired up.
But that's another story, which will start whatever. But they're independent contractors. You can play wherever you want, and the tour had their rules as long as you abided by the rules. 15 events or whatever the number was that you had to play in. You hold on to your card.
Yeah.
and you hold on to your world ranking and all of that. And if somebody wants to throw $100 million in your bank, who are you to tell me I can't take that and then kick me out of your game? I really got, and I miss those guys.
Sure. It's good for, you know, and I think it's good.
And it's going to be an asterisk next to Scheffler's name.
Sure.
It will be. Not in the majors, but in the certainly in the regular tour events when you take out 5 of the top 10 world players week in and week out. You know, and again, I'm not, you know, by far, I think if anybody's going to push Tiger's best ever ranking, it's this guy. This guy can hit a ball, man. But still, you're not playing against DeChambeau every week. You're not playing against Dustin Johnson, those guys, you know.
It's like Spanish.
Speaking of
speaking of getting off the reservation.
Speaking of Bryson real fast, he came by Hermitage and we did a so we have a thing at the golf course called the Tour Van. And they have the contract to do all the live fittings for
what
all
is
the
that?
clubs.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Live.
Oh, it's a
Live Tour.
Live is a golf tour started by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and they went into the
and they're
tour.
into shorts?
No, well they allow shorts. They allow, it's a different game altogether.
I would have pictured like Sikhs, like you got to wear like the white with the red.
They walked in and took. They offered everybody on the PGA Tour generational wealth.
Yeah.
They said, "Here's $100 million. Here's $200 million."
Kind of like what they. I think they're doing a little bit of that with like the UFC and.
Yeah, they're doing it with soccer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They wanted to move into the West as legitimate. You know, and it's interesting because the politics of it is it's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So now, are you going to endorse the way they run their country? They want to be mainstream, but they don't want to change the way they treat their people. So my attitude was, then get out of China. You know, I mean, Tour is deeply invested in China. Titleist gets all their equipment from China. So if you're going to make that statement that I can't support this because of the way they treat people, then you got to go around the world and go, it's a global game.
Sure, it's a global game.
So now you got to go into every one of these countries and go, are you running the way you think? Or is it just a game?
Right.
And let's just enjoy the athletes and let them play their game. And I'm of that school.
Yeah.
Like, and as an independent contractor, I don't want anybody telling me where I can and what I can't work.
Right.
You know, now the fans will determine that.
Sure.
You know, so if, you know, Bryson, I mean, I remember the conversation Harold, gosh, I forget, but his wife told him, you're taking the money. I mean, he was wrestling with it, you know, because you couldn't play the tour after that. They wouldn't let you on, and you dreamed about this your whole life. So now you're one of the top 125 in the world. You got a card that very few people ever get. You know, it's a prestigious thing to have the card, let alone. So his wife said, are you kidding me? This is generational wealth.
Yeah.
You'll never make this money out there.
What's happening to me right now is the grown-ups are talking, and I'm like, I don't even know if I know where Saudi Arabia is on a map. But now they like golf. I didn't know you could golf in the desert. How do you get grass out there? I didn't even know. They spend all their time in the sand. That sounds terrible.
They figured it out.
I'm an idiot, is what I'm realizing.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi.
But Bryson came out to the golf course, and so his manager, the tour van, he was passing through town for whatever reason, and he came out and they said, "Hey, he just wants to hit some range balls. Is that totally cool?" And guys, he was incredible, and he introduced himself in the pro shop, and he basically held a range session for an hour 15, an hour and 20 minutes, and he walked through how he does things. There was a kid down there hitting balls on the range, and he was hitting his driver, and the kid was facing away from him, and Bryson just said, "Hey, man, if you want to hit that driver further, you need to get a little more length." And the kid turned around and was like, "Holy crap, you're Bryson DeChambeau." And he's like, "That's what they tell me," you know? And so to see him in that element,
It was halfway of getting
incredible.
that one finger wave, and then it was, that's Bryson DeChambeau.
You know, it was really, really cool to
I'm
see
glad to hear
Bryson
that.
interact with people like that.
I just bought his driver, the LA Golf, and I told you, Tammy's sleeping in the guest room because the driver's going nowhere, and
Yeah.
I love it.
Can't lose it.
Absolutely love it.
You can't lose it.
And I'm a huge fan of his. I follow, like you, I follow him on Instagram, and that whole breaking 50 thing.
It's great.
It is. It's and the tour really, I think they got out over their skis too early and now it's a pride issue.
Sure.
Where they banned these people, and that's, again, it's your game, it's whatever you do, but they didn't break any of your rules.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah.
That
And
were
this is over
existing.
shorts?
No, it was
no,
over
no.
playing for Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
Another
Oh,
tour.
okay. Because they
A
decided to play.
competing
Got
tour.
It.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
okay.
again,
Independent contractor.
independent
Got it.
contractors.
It's making sense now. I'm catching up.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not complicated to me.
I was like-
but boy, the reading the comments on X and
Yeah.
on Instagram, and people were passionate about it. One of my closest friends was just livid, absolutely angry. That, how dare they? I go, okay. You have that kind of talent, and someone says, "I'll give you $250 million."
Yeah, what are you going to say?
Come on.
What are you going to say?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So.
I run up against this
And
a
again,
lot.
it's angering that they could do that they have that kind of money. And,
Right.
But I watched the hearings on congressional hearings for a few days. But they were right. The tour was right. If we don't do something, we're not going to have a tour. They just signed the #1 college player coming out of college to live there. I just don't like the shorts. There's something about
So even with
it's so
like the
casual.
music
I don't
and all of
want
that,
it to be that casual.
Okay.
I want it to be like I'm used to seeing aesthetically.
You want
And again,
slacks
now
and-
we're into church because I don't want a pastor that preaches in jeans. I don't care. My pastor wears skinny jeans. We have to have a conversation. But I
Do you guys need more water
no, I'm good.
while
I'm
we're
good.
fiery?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, I just am bothered by the shorts.
Sure.
That's all. And the 3 rounds. I think 4 rounds. When you think of how many tournaments are lost on the foot, you have to put 4 days together. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
72 holes. So I wish they'd go to that. But I like the team aspect of it. That it's kind of cool to
Yeah.
create more conversation in the bar,
Sure.
about your team or
Sure.
whatever. But I wish they'd figure it out because it's a shame that they're losing. People like DeChambeau, who's 28 now, I think. So how many more years? I mean, it's like, he should be out there week in and week out playing.
Yeah, I think eventually they all figure it out, and they figure out how to. Because I think for the game of golf, just strictly from the game of golf and from a consumer aspect, from a fan aspect, think about any sport in this country or any sport really. You just want to see the best of the best go at it against each other.
That's right.
Wherever that's at, right? I mean, I think that's why the world gets captivated every 4 years with the Olympics, is you just want to see the best of the best show up and compete. And I think at some point, you get that from the majors. And for me, being a golf professional, this is terrible to say, but the Masters and the U.S. Open, which plays this weekend, those will probably be the only 2 golf tournaments that I watch.
All 4 days.
All 4 days.
Right.
I may pick bits and pieces, and some of that is life. I've got 3 young kids. I've got a full-time job.
Do they
But
sit on your lap while you watch the tournament? Or they-
my little boy does, right? He is just, but right now, I mean, it doesn't matter what sport we're watching. He wants to watch it. We were watching, I'm a huge NHL fan. I'm a huge hockey fan.
Really?
And we were watching the finals.
in Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
And I think that's one of the things that we try to do at the golf course on a side note is how do we try to sell you to spend discretionary income that you don't have to, you can go to Greystone, you can go to Legends, you can go to Old Hickory, you can go to Hermitage Golf Course. And I think the Nashville Predators, for me, somebody being in the South, born and raised in Nashville, born and raised in Tennessee, hockey was so foreign that when the Nashville Predators came in, they did such a good job of pulling the fans in and saying, I got to figure out what that is.
My wife, who doesn't know anything about hockey, loved going to the arena. She goes, I like this.
I always thought they threw a party and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
And I thought it was an unbelievable idea, right? It's not like you're in Minnesota or wherever where you're going to play hockey. That's what you were going to do. I mean, when people came, they're like, wait a minute, what?
From a lady
You're not going to talk to me like that, you know?
From a lady perspective, I know why Tammy likes hockey. Hockey players are smoke shows. They're like, it is like little gladiators down there. You're like, oh look, they're fighting. Maybe they're fighting over me. Yeah, get him. Like it's like we get all
I'll
like
have to ask her that.
they're the alpha of the alpha.
So I know the attraction now.
They'll like check somebody. Everyone wants that. We want that guy in theory until he starts, drinking Mountain Dews and beating us in a white beater. But the romance idea is there. Yeah. I just found out recently why they're named the Predators. Do you know?
Didn't they find
They found a saber-toothed tiger underneath when they were digging to build Bridgestone. And that's why that's the mascot. Because it never made any sense to me. It was always like, that's not a really good name. Like, it's not, everybody does that joke, but it's true. It's not like great. Right. It's like we have the Predators, and then there's going to be the Huntsville Traffickers, and they're going to go at
Yeah, I never looked at it that way.
Oh my gosh!
That's why I love sitting across from you. You just give me so many different perspectives.
Well,
I had to kill a joke because God bless Asheville and their hurricane, but I had a joke that I was like, North Carolina has hurricanes. Like, why would they name their hockey team that? That's like if we had the LA forest fires. And then that year that I was saying that joke everywhere, it was recorded and everything, the huge LA fires broke out. Asheville had that horrendous hurricane, and I had to call some people. I'm like, look, if you ever post that little mini special, you're going to have to cut that joke.
That's amazing.
So just...
Awful, yeah.
And I know nothing of this world, right, of telling jokes and doing stand-up. But in my mind, like, that makes, the Carolina Hurricanes, have a lot of...
Why would you
so
pick
people,
that?
they'll get upset by that.
That's why I said I would never move to Florida. I'm not going nowhere where they have a season named Hurricane.
Right.
Hey, this is hurricane season. Well, then I'm out.
I don't want anything to do with it.
That's like blizzard season. I'm going to run to the restroom. And then...
this is good. We won't. Hey, you
guys can talk.
You know what? I couldn't make it up the stairs after I went to the restroom because I told you it was leg day.
Yeah.
And so I was like trying to get back as quick as I could. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere.
To your question to finish up the religion.
Oh, yes.
And the Christianity.
Okay, I brought it. 3 is my number. I was like, I asked 2 more
right
times,
here.
and then I was like, quit.
My faith has I know my faith has gotten stronger over the last few years, right? And my wife has been unbelievable for me. She's my biggest fan. I write a lot of jokes on my family and my wife, but I do everything for my wife and my kids, right? Yeah. I mean, wanting to be successful and wanting to see my kids, hey, Dad had to do some hard things in life, and Dad was not scared to do hard things in life. Well, if my dad could do it, because that's how I was. Well, I thought if my mom and dad could do it, I can do it, right? And that was what I looked up to. And so my wife and I go to Providence Church in Mount Juliet. The pastor there is incredible. In his sermons over the last, I guess we've been going. Who's the pastor there? Jacob Armstrong.
Okay.
He's awesome. And I would tell anybody who's never been to Providence Church, you got to go and you got to experience it. And
can I be honest with you about something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was really scared you were going to say it was Greg Locke's church. Because you said Mount Juliet. And I was like, I made fun of that guy a lot.
No.
It's going to be uncomfortable.
No.
Okay.
And with my wife and my kids and us really being big in church, the last few years has strengthened my faith, right? And so I think DCA laid that groundwork as a private education. I went from first through graduation. And I think DCA did a fantastic job of outline what religion is and what Christianity is, but I've always been a believer. I've been a believer since I was about 13, 14 years old. I can't pinpoint it and say, I know exactly when it happened, but my faith has gotten stronger over probably the last 7 or 8 years with my wife and church and stuff like that. We didn't go to church a whole lot as a kid.
Kids will do that, won't they though? Yeah.
They have totally changed my perspective.
Children will get you on your knees, that's for sure. Well, you do. You look at them and you want to protect them.
Right.
And you realize, my prayer is always lay your protective hand on their hearts and their minds. There's so much bombardment of just false doctrine and, it's a different world than when I grew up in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, but I feel like that's why there's such a huge resurgence in Christianity, especially in young men, because they're seeing that they need some sort of structured value system, somewhere they can land that's firm and not moving, where the rest of the world, it feels like there's no stability in it anymore.
Let's just flail around. And it's funny because even when I was actively using, really screwing everything up, there were a couple of men that I would run into in my neighborhood that were good husbands, good fathers. Young, I wasn't married yet, but there was an attractiveness to the way they lived their life. And oddly enough, the one common denominator was they were Bible-believing Christians.
Sure.
And I never forgot that. There's a saying I heard: every man at some point in his life needs to get downwind from himself. What kind of husband are you? What kind of father are you? What kind of citizen? All the inventory that you take as a man. And if you're honest, the integrity is the most important thing. Yeah. I remember my father, for all of his faults, he was of the generation that your name is the only thing you can take to the grave with you that matters. What people say about you after you're gone. Sure. And I don't see integrity. And again, we go back to first tee. I just like how they've taken children from culturally where you play a sport where you call penalties on yourself. You do everything that you're not, in basketball, you commit a foul. If you didn't get the whistle, man, you got away with it. Right. Baseball, if they call a foul ball, that misses the line, you're in. You got your double, whatever. Right. Golf is the only one where, that ball moved, and I caused it to move, even though like that. And it's hard. I've been in tournaments where that happened, and you go, and you go, who cares?
Right. Nobody saw it.
Right. But then it just eats at you.
Right.
And I go, I gotta, call it on myself. So I hope that what we're seeing with especially young men, because I love the quote, there's nothing more dangerous to a culture than bored young men.
Sure.
And we have a lot of bored young men. And I think that getting around men of integrity, and we're seeing it in our church, a lot of the high school kids, they're reaching, they're doing an outreach to get these kids in to teach them biblical integrity, and obviously the culture's pushing back, so good on you.
And that's what I tell people, right? Like, I've been incredibly blessed. My father was an incredible man. My brother is a high school football coach at the school we actually graduated from. I worked for him for a year last year. The gentleman who owns Hermitage Golf Course, and Mr. Eller, and the gentleman that I worked for in Jim Vernon, they didn't get me into the game. They kept me into the game in the golf business because of how they were as leaders, as how Mike was as an owner. I tell this story all the time. My father passed from a heart attack in 2015. I was an assistant golf professional at the time. Mr. Eller, who owns Hermitage Golf Course, he called me every day to check in on me.
Wow.
And for somebody to do that, and he would see me at the golf course, and then he'd shoot me a text or he'd call me and say, hey, I saw something today that made me think of my dad, made me think of you. And so needing a job and needing to make money got me into the golf business. Jim Vernon and Mike Eller kept me in the golf business, if that makes sense. And, and it's been great.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hard work. It really is. People don't realize it. I mean, you're there at 6. I don't know if you are, but I know the pros at Greystone are there at 6 a.m. A lot of times before the sun comes.
That's right. And I tell people all the time.
And they're there as the sun is setting.
You need people in the golf business that you're working with. You need people you want to be around, right? Because you're there with your work family more than you're with your family. But two things to that: if you're a young golfer who eventually sees the game is telling you that you're not going to play it at a professional level, getting in the golf business, I do not regret. I'll never regret whether I do anything else in this world. of getting into the golf business. I've met some of my best friends through the golf business. I've met some of the coolest people through the golf business. Some of the best conversations I've had is through the golf business. We've joked about the game of golf and some of the consumers we see in the videos we do, but it's an unbelievable profession. It's hard, but traveling on the road and telling jokes is hard, and being away from your family is hard. And I'm not trying to put those two married together, but it's hard. And you're there sun up to sundown. But the PGA of America does a really good job of training young professionals. Golf courses do a great job, or we try to do a great job of training young professionals. And
did you go through it in a college program? 'Cause I know
I didn't.
My cousin went through the Mississippi State program.
I've got some friends who did that. I went through the PGA, just the PGA PGM, the work-based study.
At least the playability didn't cost. I mean, you had no trouble passing that.
I didn't, thank goodness. I took it right after trying to play.
Right.
And I took it in a golf course a little bit away from here, and I'll never forget there was a guy standing on the range, and I had my headphones in, but I had no music on, just because come on, man, I just want to be done with this and then get back home. And he kept, hey man, and I finally looked up. He goes, hey, do you think it's the range ball making it go a little further right? And I thought, you're probably gonna have a day. You're probably gonna have a day, sir. But you get to see some really cool and interesting people in the game of golf. And since the videos, when you talk about the hours, people have asked, how has the videos changed your work, And I tell people, before we started the videos, I worked 6 days a week, sun up to sundown. And since the videos, I work 6 days a week, sun up to sundown. Nothing's changed. I'm still a golf professional first.
Right.
I'm still somebody who needs to try to drive the place forward. I'm still somebody who needs to try to bring people into the game of golf, because that's the job of a PGA professional. And we have just kind of found a way to do that at Hermitage by making fun of people.
Well, I want to make an invitation here on the Who Gave Jeff Allen a Podcast. We're sending it out to throngs. Dozens of people will see this. June 29th and 30th, I'm doing a golf tournament raising money at West Haven for the Anti-Predator Project. 29th, we're doing a show at Zany's, 4 p.m. So we want to get people home before the sun goes down, because my people are old. I'd like to invite you to come up and do some stand-up.
Wow.
And talk a little bit about the golf business. And but 5 minutes. Can you put together 5 minutes of stand-up? We would love to have you up.
Sure, I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
I would love to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely would.
I've had some other people come up in front of me that were dabbling in it, and they had a blast.
Really?
It's not life or death.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And obviously you can talk, so.
I got better playing golf. That's funny you say that. I got better playing golf when it wasn't for a living.
Yeah.
Well, I relaxed the game. I relaxed a lot
I could
better.
see that. Standing over a 3-foot downhill putt. I talked to a mini tour player years ago. He said, I knew I had to get out when I'm standing down a 3-foot downhill putt, and I'm thinking, if I miss this and it goes 4 feet by, and I miss that coming back, if I 3-putt from here, it's going to cost me 100, 250. He goes, that's when I knew I had to get out.
That's it.
I started doing the math. How much is an extra putt going to cost me? So then I would baby it up.
That's it. I'd lay up from 3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet.
I'd try to 2-putt from 3 feet.
Yeah, I'm not.
I was trying to 2-putt from 3 feet to break 90 in some of those mini tour events. And so, no, I had a blast doing it. And that would be so much fun to do that. That would be so much fun to do.
Well, we got to put him down then. We'll
release this episode Monday, so it comes out in time.
Okay, that's great.
We'll move it up. That'll be great. I'm so grateful that you came here. Okay, so Hermitage Golf.
Yep.
On Instagram, and then
Golf Shop. This is Chris is my personal page.
Golf Shop. This is Chris.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Subscribe to whatever it is you do.
Leave comments about how he answers the phone like a jerk. Drive up those algorithms.
That's it.
Drive them up.
We don't care. We'll take negative, positive. We just.
Yeah, anything.
There's nothing worse than just apathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about at the golf course. I'd rather you love us or hate us, because we can make both. I don't want you to be like, it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, move the needle.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, God bless you. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
We love you. We
Really
appreciate you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Let's play some golf together.
We
by
need
the
to.
way. Yes.
We need to.
Yeah. All right.
We need to.